So today I'm going to be going over all the different things that we look at when making offers to wholesalers or when we're negotiating with a motivated seller, things that we're looking at to make sure we give them the correct offer on their property so there's enough meat on the bone for everyone involved. Let's jump in. What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of A Flipping Good Life. Today we are going to be going over how to comp your investment properties. There's 5 major steps that you need to look for whenever you're comping your properties. This is the big 5 and things to always consider. As a fix and flip investor, I need to have my mind in the same mindset as the person who's going to come appraise our property or the appraiser. If our property does not appraise to the end buyer, then we run into a whole new list of things. So I can't just hope and dream and cross my fingers that the property is going to sell for whatever I want it to sell. I have to be able to look at other comparables in the area and base my ARV or after repair value based on what else is selling. So when I say big 5, this is exactly what I mean. I've broken them down into steps 1 through 5. The first one being location is definitely the most important, and property type. Now, this can mean a few different things. When I say location, I don't just mean the area of town or the zip code. Location can also mean, is this lakefront? Is this oceanfront? Is this on a golf course? Is this on a major street with a lot of noise? You have to take all of these little things into consideration when you're running your comps. The next is going to be property type. I can't compare my single family residence to a townhome, a multifamily complex, obviously, or a condo. An appraiser wants to see like for like. So if this is a single family home off of the golf course, they're going to compare it to another single family home off of the golf course. And as soon as I get done breaking down these steps, we're gonna do a live comp together. So I'll help bring this all together and help this make sense. Step number 2, square feet, lot size, and year built. If you have a 5,000 square foot home, you cannot be comparing that to a property that is 3,500 square feet. Those are 2 completely different properties. So you wanna stay within 15% as a good rule of thumb of your square footage, especially when you start to get into those larger properties. Smaller properties, 1,000 square feet, 1,500 square feet, 900 square feet, you can give or take about 300 square feet in either direction. Now you want to stay within about 15 years of that property unless you start going into some older properties like 1950s, 1960s. Then you really just want to compare those properties to those properties. But anything above like 1975, 1985, 1995, try to stay within a 15-year spread on either direction of those as well. And then the third step is going to be the condition of the property. This one goes without saying, but when you're making your offer on this property, or when you're sending this over to a fix and flip investor, these are things that they are going to strongly consider. I'm talking about if the AC unit needs to be replaced, if there's holes in the ceiling, and this is a big one that gets overlooked a lot, is going to be landscaping, pool, and pool equipment. So if they have a pool that is not filled, they have pool equipment that hasn't been touched in years, you have to start fixing that stuff into your offer price and then adjusting it when you send it out to the fix and flip investors, because I promise you a good fix and flip investor is going to be looking at all of this stuff. The next one is going to be a floor plan. Now, you can't always hit this one right on the head, but in most cases you can. So you want to compare a single story home to another single story home, not a single story to a 2-story or a 3-story. You want to keep them all the same. And then of course, step 5 is going to be time of recent sales. So you want to make sure that everything is falling within that 3 to 6 month period. Super important, because the last thing you want to do is stretch it out too far when the market's dramatically appreciating and shoot yourself in the foot. Now, the closer you can get to the property, the better. But if you need to stretch it out because you're in a market where people have much larger lot sizes or there's just not a lot of comparables that are popping up, that's fine. But you want to keep everything within a half a mile radius, or at least try to. If there's too many properties in a half a mile radius, shrink that bubble to about a quarter mile radius. But an appraiser is going to pull everything within a half a mile radius and see all the sales that are going down within that certain bubble. So the first thing I do is I want to pull the basics of the property. When I say basics of the property, I want to see what type of property it is, the number of beds, baths, and square footage. How I do this is I jump right on Zillow. It's the easiest way to do this, and it gives me everything right up front. Now, the one thing you do not want to pay attention to is the Zestimate. Sometimes they hit the nail right on the head, but more times than not, they are far off, especially when it comes to fully rehabbed properties. It's going to be a night and day difference compared to what the property looks like now. So like I said, we're just going on here. We want to make sure we have the correct address. We have the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, and square footage. And then we do all of our comps live on the MLS. So let's do this together. I have it pulled up on Zillow here. Let's jump right into the MLS and I can take you down step by step exactly how we do it. So here we go. I have everything marked off over here on the left-hand side. I've done solds up to about 250 days. I want to see also everything that's under contract and everything that's active. Now, I'm not using active and under contract as comps. I just want to see what the competition in the area is like. I can sometimes use comps of properties that are under contract, but only if they plan to close within the next 2 or 3 days, so I can circle back and see what they actually closed for. But you do not want to use one of these properties as a comp and then come to find out as soon as they close, well, they sold for $30,000 under what they were showing you at the time, right? So I've got our address here. I've also put everything within a half a mile radius, and now I only want to see single family residences because that's exactly what this property is, right? So big thing to keep in mind as well is we have 81 matches here. Now I want to try to slim that number down to about 30 matches, 25 matches to make it a little bit easier for me. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to start changing some of the things in here to bring that number down. Now I'm going to start doing, I can do it by year built, I can do it by square footage, bedroom, bathrooms, all of these different things. But big things for me and big costs that are associated with this that I don't want to skew my numbers in comping is going to be a pool, right? So our property does not have a pool in it. A good way to check for that too is you jump right over here on satellite imaging on Zillow and just zoom in. As you can see, there's no pool here, so I don't want to be comparing my property to properties that do have a pool, right? So I'm going to put no on that. Now our property is also 1,260 square feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in 1,000 through 1,600 square feet, and we've brought that number now down to 46. So another thing I want to do is get on here and change the year built, right? So I don't want to be comparing my property that was built in 1980 to properties that were built in 2010 or 2018, right? So now I'll get on here and I'll do 2000 and below, and that gives us 28 matches. Perfect for me. The first thing I'm going to do is jump into the map. So I'm going to zoom in and start looking at some properties and see what's the most comparable to my property now and what did they sell for. So everything here in orange is going to be a property that is under contract. Everything here in red is going to be a property that has sold within the last 250 days. And then in green is going to be active on the MLS, right? So as you can see here, especially if I pull it up here in results, there's only one property available here on the MLS. It's 1327 square feet, which seems to be, just by a quick look, overpriced. So that means everything in this area is selling. That is a really good sign so far. Right, so I'm going to jump in here. Another good thing to look out for is this little number 2 right here in the corner. This means the property was bought and sold in a very close timeline. So if we pull that up, you'll usually be able to see, what did that investor buy that property for and what did they sell that property for. Gives me a good idea of what investors are purchasing homes for in the area. You can see here they bought this home for $210,000, then they turned around and sold it for $343,000. Not too shabby. All right, so I'm gonna start highlighting some of these properties close to me. This one sold for $312. I want to mark that. $283. I definitely want to mark that as well. $306. Let's hit that one. $305. So as you can see, as we're clicking on these, there starts to be a trend right around the 300s, right? So definitely something you want to pay attention to. This was a flip, so this is most likely the direction I'm going to go in. It's a little bit bigger than ours, but that's still okay. 327, another flip. So that's awesome. So then you want to pull up results, and it's going to show you everything that you just highlighted there on the map. And this was everything that was relatively close to our property, and this will give me a good going trend for everything that's selling in the area. So the first thing I want to do is get as close as I can to our amount of square feet. This is 1196. And ours is 1260. So it's a little bit smaller, but still pretty much right there. Click on this property, and it's easily, just by looking at the photos, you can tell that this was a fix and flip project. You can also see it was only on the market for 18 days, which is right in trend with everything else over here. So most likely, I don't even have to look much further. This property is most likely going to sell for right around $330,000 or $335,000. It's really that simple, guys. You don't have to overcomplicate this stuff. When I send this out, this is what I'm going to send as my ARV. These are the comps I'm going to show other fix and flips investors. That way there's no guessing game involved. I'll add this other one in here for $343 as just a little icing on the cake, given it's a little bit bigger. However, it's the same amount of beds, same amount of baths, 2-car garage. It's right there with us. Right? So thanks again, guys, for tuning in. My name is Lorenzo with the Flipping Good Life, and I'll see you on the next one.